Is it necessary that you will record it? Because I will prefer.
Yeah, it's
Has to be
necessary for
recorded.
the. Yeah, I wanted to record it because I want to then make critical, means I want to review the your replies, and then I have to develop a critical discussion on based on that. So it is a part of this thing.
That's fine, but I would like to put a disclaimer
Yeah.
because I seen your questions. Couple of them
Mm.
were related to what the company is doing.
Yeah.
So I am bound with the confidentiality provisions.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will not be able to give you any information on ongoing projects or
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
information which is confidential in nature.
Yes.
I will
Perfect.
only be talking straight away on my experiences with the
Yes.
project.
Yes. That
So
is
it will
perfectly
be
fine.
a survey based on my knowledge, not
Yeah.
what I do for my company.
Yeah, perfect, perfect, perfect. I means I don't want any information related, confidential information related to the company. Just your experience, means what you means past over the last few years, means what you have experienced in Saudi industry.
So you can keep on asking me the questions one by one. I'll reply,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I,
yeah,
as
yeah.
as
That
agreed, we will try to finish
yes,
within
yes.
15 minutes, please. I'm
Yes,
super
yes,
busy.
perfect, perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
I know. Thank you so much for the for your time. And just there is one consent form I sent you. If you can just if you can confirm it by email also, that's okay. If you don't want to sign it,
I'll
then
confirm by email. I'll confirm by
okay.
email. No issues.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you. This is just a standard procedure which has to be used. Okay, so let's start. Which type of contracts do you commonly adopt at your projects?
Well, if you've seen my profile, I was worked in various fields, so it's a diversified. I started with oil and gas in
Okay,
India. Then I've been to Middle East in oil and gas.
okay,
After that, I have joined a company which was into diversified field. Right,
okay.
it was medical, agriculture, industries,
Hmm.
and civil works, and hospital supplies and equipments.
Okay,
After that, I have been to ground transportation in Thales, Qatar.
okay,
After that, I have been to aviation with Thales Bahrain into airport project.
okay,
And then I was into legal and compliance, which is a typically lawyer job in Thales, India.
okay,
And right now I am into renewables like solar power projects with Larsen
okay.
and Toubro India.
Hmm.
So if you see, it's a tough question to ask that what specifically agreements I have worked because in Thales, who's basically a French company, they
Okay,
strictly works on FIDIC form of contracts. So
okay,
yellow books, red book, and that
okay,
those were being followed in that. While if you see the one which like in L&T India, it was typical government contracts where
okay.
some of the clauses are derived from FIDIC.
Hmm.
While in ministries in Africa, when I work with African projects,
Okay,
so they generally have their standard templates, which are a mix of FIDIC form of contract and maybe some clauses of NEC form of contract, and they do
okay,
follow. While
okay,
in renewable sector, which is my current, the agreements are bound with a power purchase agreement because here you have to generate the power and you have to feed it to the
okay,
feeder.
okay.
So they are bound with the PPA, which is power purchase agreement.
Power purchase agreement.
So yeah,
So,
so it
so
is
this is the
it's
project you're working in Saudi currently?
yeah,
Okay, okay,
right now. Yeah.
okay. So actually this research is only related to Saudi construction industry. So my next question is, which are the most common types of disputes that occur in Saudi in Saudi construction? Means as per your experience.
Well, it depends. There are two directions. One being a EPC, we need to manage the client also, and we have to manage the subcontractors also.
Yeah.
So coming to the customer side, we have claims with regard to extension of time because that is a general thing in
Right.
almost all the projects. And after the COVID effects and this Ukraine world war, this
Yeah.
Ukraine and Russia war, and
Yeah.
Shanghai lockdown, and the recent all COVID after effects, medical problems, travel requirements, and all. So this all extended the project timeline. So these are generally extension of time effects on us,
Okay.
and maybe
Okay.
some of them will bring some cost effects also, so that we are tackling with our customer. These are the nature of the claims. And coming to the contractors, similar way,
Mhm.
contractors generally bring the claims for delayed mobilization and extension of time because of that, extra
Okay.
cost because of any changes in the site conditions or archaeological discoveries and all.
Perfect.
So that is the nature of claims we receive from the subcontractors.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. My next question is related to the extension of time claim. What are the challenges you experience when handling the EOT claims?
Well, challenge with us is generally the procedure is that we submit the claim in the duration of the project, which is a tough time to ascertain the actual contribution of the factor for the claim. Like if you are aware about the network methodology and all, which I studied in forensic delay analysis.
Yeah.
Forensic delay analysis is the right approach because
Yeah.
it is being done when the project is over. When the project
Okay.
is completed, then only in the best way you can identify which event has affected the project in what manner. Because in the running phase, you might be considering some event that it may go critical or it may go delayed.
Okay.
But in the later course of time, you arrest the delay related to that, and
Yeah.
the effect net effect of that activity is zero on the project delay. So
Okay.
it's not wise to calculate the delay to perform the delay analysis during the working of the project. The right way is forensic delay analysis, which is done in the end of the projects, and that is a specific technique. In forensic delay analysis, there are various techniques. The most renowned one is APAB, which is as planned versus as built. That is being very widely used for
Okay.
assessment of claims related to construction.
Okay. 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 So my next question is, uh, what are the means what are the disputes related to EOT claims normally occurring at the at your projects in Saudi Arabia? Means for example, through my literature review, there are some disputes I identified. So as per your experience, what are the disputes that have means normally occur when handling
Related
the
to
EOT claims?
EOT
Extension of time.
claims, as I said, yeah, extension of time, the dispute is what? Like one party submits it and the other party contradicts it. Customer,
Yeah.
like we being the contractor, when we receive from the subcontractors, we try to discard it, and the same way employer does to us. But
Okay.
the right thing is, like, to avoid any dispute, you have to see what are the factors which have
Okay.
really contributed to it. Suppose there is a force majeure, you can't do anything. You have
Yeah.
to avoid EOT. When there is established lockdown or a strike or earthquake or whatever is the factor, so in such cases, you cannot deny as per the law. If
Okay.
something happened, it is evidenced, it has records, the relief has to be given. At the same time, the dispute happens generally on what are the impacts, because the party who's affected, generally they try to take leverage of that and they try to
Yeah.
exaggerate the claim. So that is another point of dispute. Like if the claim is exaggerated, you should be able to find it out. You should be able to negotiate, and you should be able to close that in a most amicable manner. So
Okay.
that is one sort of dispute also
Yeah.
related to the.
Perfect. Okay. My next question is, how do you assess concurrent delays?
Well, concurrent delays again, as I said, the ideal method will be APAB only, but
Okay.
it is since it is a working project, so there is no specified rule. Generally, there are various methods. Like if you activity wise, you can adjust the concurrent delays in the tree in the schedule, or
Yeah.
maybe at you can lump the delays by each parties and you can subtract that in the last. So there are various methods and techniques. So as of now, we have not done anything because we are in the running phase of project. So we are
Okay.
just, it's a simple subtraction that my delay
Yeah.
is 100, yours is 30. So my net delay apportionable to me is 70. That is
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
but that is not
Uh,
the correct approach, as I just
yeah.
said. It has
Yeah.
to be done properly for each and every loop. It needs to be reciprocated, the delay of the other party, the
Okay.
concurrent delay, and
Yeah.
then the net effect of the delay on the affected party should be determined.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Then my next question is, how do you assess ownership of? Hello. Your
Yeah,
voice is. Yeah.
I'm not speaking anything. Yeah, your
Uh,
voice is gone. Yeah.
okay. I think there is a lag in video. Okay. So my next question is, how do you assess ownership of float?
Well, this is debatable topic, and if you see, because I am a lawyer also, if you see the case law related to that, in the form of contract, it is quite vague. Because if you compare FIDIC and NEC, somewhere it says that the float is has to be owned by the contractor.
Yeah.
Somebody says that it has to be owned by the owner, and somebody says the project owns the float. So
Yeah.
I believe the third approach is fine, that whatever float is there, there is no owner or contractor. It has to be in project's benefit. Nobody should be allowed to take leverage of that, and that should go as a contribution or a timeline of the project. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. So my next question is, how inconsistent project records impact EOT claims? What are the measures do you implement to control this issue?
Inconsistent project
project
records.
records? Yeah.
That is quite obvious question, because
Yeah.
if your records are not consistent, you can't prove anything.
Yeah.
So definitely, this is a matter of pure management. Like once you start the project and you feel that something is going to affect the project, you should try making documentation at that time
Yeah.
itself. You
Yeah.
should try keep on making the documentation. It should not be kept for the last moment. And you should try communicating with the employer that these are the things happening which are beyond my control, or these are the things which are expected to extend the timeline. And the regular updation is required, because once you update and submit the claims, that will be in record, as well as the chances of losing the track will not be there. And that's why in all the contracts there is always a provision that once you submit a claim, you should keep, over a certain timeline, you should keep on submitting the updates of that claim.
Okay.
So the crux of the matter is that nothing should be kept for the end. If you feel that any event is going to disturb your schedule, you should try submitting that well in advance as a pre-notification, then as a notification, then in the last as an update to the
Okay.
customer.
Okay, noted. Thank you. Okay, my next question is related to delay analysis method. How do you deal with delay analysis on EOT, as you explained earlier? So I want to add something to that. Which is your preferred delay analysis method and why? And what are the issues with this method?
Well, I told you that APAB is
AP.
the one which is good as planned
Yeah.
versus as built. It
Yeah.
is, as the name suggests, you are not going to reap the benefits of planned or
Yeah.
as built side. It compares
Mm.
both.
Yeah.
It is a contemporaneous method. It
Mm.
goes like once the project is gone, at any juncture of the project, you can find out that what was the delay. So that is
Okay.
the advantage. It is one of the most suitable method for forensic delay analysis also, which is done
Okay.
once the project is over.
Okay. So what are the limitations for this method? Are there any limitations or any drawbacks for
Well,
this method?
if you go to the theory, there might be, but I cannot recollect as of now, because I believe there must be some, but
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can't recollect as of now.
Okay. Perfect. Uh, okay. So my next is on the dispute resolution methods. Which is your preferred dispute resolution methods for EOT claims? Which is the most efficient method in your experience?
Well, dispute resolution, you see, if any of the, it's not EOT, even in any matter in the contract, you have various methods like mediation,
Yeah.
you can go.
Yeah.
Then there is a expert deputation, you
Yeah.
can go for arbitration, and finally you can go for litigation. So I
Okay.
suggest the expert determination is better out of that,
Expert
because
determination.
mediation, you will appoint a mediator, not sure what will be the competency level of that mediator if it is just a mediator, while
Yeah.
expert determination is good because the person who comes, he is the expert of the subject.
Okay.
And but you have to take care that the person should not be biased, and it
Yeah.
should be jointly hired by the parties, mutually agreeable to both the parties. It should not only be deputed by one party only. So that should be taken care. And I think because it is an expert subject, not everybody can do delay analysis and sees the minor details of the project. So I suggest, I believe that
Yeah.
expert determination
Yeah.
for the resolution of dispute is the best way for
Okay.
EOT matters.
Okay. Thank you. So my last question is, can you provide some recommendations to how to deal better with the EOT claims, how to better handle the EOT claims in terms of client side, contractor side, and the subcontractor side? Means just like a general recommendation for.
Okay. As I just said, for the contractor side, I'll take a first.
Yeah.
Timely notification is important. I
Yeah.
just said that there are three phases. One is pre-notification, one is notification, and one is update. So
Yeah.
whenever you feel anything is going, pre-notification is the first thing. Whenever you feel anything is going to impact your
Yeah.
timeline, you should notify well in advance that I expect, being a contractor, I expect that this is going to affect my timeline. However, any repercussion on project timeline will be informed in the due course.
Okay.
And then when you get, because all contracts are bound with a timeline of giving a notification, suppose 14 days, 7 days. So you should be careful that whenever you are getting to know, when it comes to your knowledge or it occurs that
Yeah.
something has happened which is going to affect your timeline, you should immediately
Yeah.
notify to the customer in the stipulated timeline, or else you will lose your entitlement for that extension of time.
Okay.
So this is another factor needs to be taken care. Regular
Yeah.
updates. The third
Yeah.
one has to be monitored,
Yeah.
because it is seen that sometimes we just submit the claim or pay notification and then the contractor forgets to
Yeah.
give the updates. And even
Yeah.
that suppose any force majeure, that event is over, but the contractor
Yeah.
did not notify
Not
to
notify.
the customer that event is over. So that is again a default. So these all things to be maintained. And apart from that, the claim should not be exaggerated. It should be
Okay.
realistic. It should
Yeah.
be having proper evidences should be there,
Yeah.
so that you can prove your claim. Coming to
Yeah.
the employer side, most important is that no claim from any contractor should be left unattended.
Unattended.
Owner is supposed to reply in a proper and diligent manner with all the claims he is receiving. The
Okay.
pendency, if they do not respond, because every contract in general has a clause that if you receive something from a contractor, you do not comment, you will lose your entitlement to refute it. So you should keep that in mind. You should like keep on
Yeah.
when you receive, respond, notify, get the updates, and at any time you should be you should be updated with the quantity of the claims. You should be reasonable enough. You should just not discard just because you are a employer or you
Yeah.
are a client. You should be reasonable, and especially that points or that events which are beyond the control of the contractor, you should take that positively as a customer.
Okay. And about the subcontractor side.
Subcontractor is the one who's very vulnerable to changes because they are at the bottom level of the project hierarchy.
Yeah.
So they should take care of the things. Again, majority of the items, they should follow what contractors are doing. Whenever you find anything practically at site which is affecting your work, you should notify that to the customer in time.
Yeah.
You should try avoid making any agreement which is taken from the parent agreement, like with the
Okay.
owner. You should stick your scope with the contractor's agreement, because sometimes what contractor does in the EPC contracts, he has huge risk with the EPC contract with the employer. So he
Yeah.
tries to pass on those risks and limitations to the subcontractor in terms of notification, claims, classes, and all. So the subcontractor should take care that he is not the EPC. He is
Yeah.
one part of EPC. So
Yeah.
he should try not agreeing to any term which is just back to back given to them. If it is
Okay.
applicable, they should accept it. If something sometimes generally contractor says, for example, that if I get some relief, I'll give it to you. No, this should not be the condition, because he is bound with some XYZ contract, but subcontractor is bound with his subcontract agreement. So try, he should localize his risk. He should limit his risk only to his scope of work, because
Okay.
contractor may have to take care of a complete facility, but subcontractor has to limit himself to the installation of particular system or subsystem. So only those risks should be taken care by them, and no other things from the main agreement, like any sort of, not exactly the consequential losses, but the back-to-back arrangements he should try to avoid to safeguard himself.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. That was it. Thank you so much for your time.